This is Aaron Rodgers talking about the decision for the Jets to be featured on HBO's Hard Knocks. Aaron Rodgers, good friends with one A.J. Hawk. So let's listen to A-Rod's new Jets quarterback.
One of the only things I like about Hard Knocks is the voice of God who narrates it. Live. I hope I get to meet him. But look, I understand the appeal with us. Obviously, there's a lot of eyes on me, a lot of eyes on our team, a lot of expectations for our squad. So they forced it down our throats, and we got to deal with it.
So that's KPIX, courtesy of the sound there. Look, Adam Schefter released some information yesterday on how this whole thing is going to go with Hard Knocks, and it just feels like we're wasting our time. So according to Schefter, the team, I guess, NFL cameras, they won't let them inside the rooms where Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, the GM, are cutting players. And Schefter says, quote, Hard Knocks will not be the same. They're not going to give the same access. The Jets don't believe it's humane to show players being released. All right, why are we doing this? It's run its course. If it's going to be a watered-down version of what the NFL's been doing and HBO's been doing for years, and you needed to go through all of these hoops to even get anybody to want to do it, what are we doing it for? Just move on. It ran its time. It was great. It lasted, 15, 16 years, and now we got to move on. We talk about the evolution of the running back position. It's the evolution of reality TV. Let's just get rid of it, call this the last year, and get on with our lives. That's it.
It's actually, it's kind of a good point. And I know there's some Hard Knocks fans out there who are going to hate saying this, but the show never evolved. It never really did evolve in any capacity, meaning – name something that they were doing year one that was drastically different from, 15, year 16.
Nothing.
And I think what they missed out on was the fact that you have other elements and things that are at play during the season, which I think a lot of people look at as more drama or more action-packed when it's actually during the real live games, not just training camp. Because the whole entire premise of Hard Knocks and of training camp, as it's lessened over those 16 years. It's not the same amount of hitting. It's not the same amount of action that you see even in training camp anymore. But one of the biggest points was the cut. It was making the team. It was that story of the player that wasn't as well known or fought through adversity that made it. And now rosters are largely set between the draft picks, what guys are signed for, probably with the exception of about 10 guys. That's the reality when you walk into camp. There might be even less than that. It might be 5 or 6 guys who are back into the roster they're trying to figure out, or a kicker. Which one are they going to pick from this? It doesn't draw the same amount of intrigue and drama as it would be if you were following. And think of this: if you were following the Jets in season versus before. There's not a quarterback competition. It's Rodgers.
Right.
You know it's going to be Rodgers. You really don't care what he does during training camp or preseason. You just want him to get into the season healthy. And then from there, it's kind of everything else that comes from it. So I'm sure for Jets fans, they're going to love the fact they get to see their team in this capacity. I'm sure there's some diehard, hardcore HBO Hard Knocks fans that still want to see this stuff. But the stuff in season to me is way more entertaining. And then the last thing I'll just say is I had a buddy who was a part of a team that was on Hard Knocks. I don't remember them getting anything extra.
Right.
You live in a world and a day and age where players can, post content or do different things and get paid for it. I don't think these guys are getting any additional pay for being a part of it.
Q, that might be the best point I've heard on this topic.
You know what I'm saying?
There is no compensation for doing Hard Knocks, and you're 100% right. Why not? If you're getting sent in as one of those guys that are getting cut, and this guy is not going to have a job with your team anymore, they're not getting compensated by HBO or anybody for doing that show. I think that's a great point. And if I were, then maybe I would sign off on understanding that the likelihood of me losing my job on camera, it seems a little bit more bearable. There's some compensation package or whatever, I don't know. But you're right. Guys are able to build their brands through social media. There's just the focus and focal attention on brand building now is at an all-time high. And so to be a part of something, and we asked the question, well, why do we keep doing the show? It's money. I mean, it's money. However much was committed to this show and what comes from it is the reason why they're going to carry out the amount of time that, is on the contract between HBO and the National Football League to do this. That's 100% what it is. And then when you look at the idea and the aspects of, okay, it hasn't evolved. That's very true. It's a very accurate statement. But you know what? Neither has All Access for boxing. And it's still very, very entertaining. But you know why it's entertaining? Because you're talking about an All Access pass that's leading to a climactical ending, right? Two guys are going to fight. It's generally a big-ass fight when you do All Access. And that's just not the type of feel you get from Hard Knocks, right? It's not like, okay, I'm watching Hard Knocks, which is all intents and purposes the same thing as All Access, or when they did 24/7 with Floyd. It's the same premise. It's probably the same exact people that did 24/7 that do Hard Knocks. It was amazing to see boxers and what they do in a camp, but a camp leads to a fight, a singular happening, a singular spectacle. This is not leading to a singular spectacle. You have an entire season to go through. So to me, it would seem like it's more critical and more imperative that you actually get the best team to do Hard Knocks and follow them around and get an in-depth look at them, because nobody wants to be associated with a loser. I'm sorry. If you're putting on a team that's a losing team, that's generally what you're getting on Hard Knocks, because it's generally a new head coach or whatever. You said the rules a while back, Jonas.
You can't be a first-year head coach. You can't have made the playoffs. It's just all these requirements you got to meet.
That's exactly the requirements that should go into you using the team.
Right.
It should be a team that made the playoffs. Yes. It should be a competitive team. It should be a coach that we know and admire. It should be one of those things, because that's what's going to drive what's taking place. Yes, I will probably watch this edition, this year's Hard Knocks, just for the simple fact, just like everybody else, hook and reel, is that Aaron Rodgers is in a new place. That's a one-time thing. So you've created something that can connect to us emotionally to want to watch it, because the spectacle of it doesn't lead to this ultimate climax. It's not like the first game of the year is not an ultimate climax to the storyline that's put forth in front of you. Like, here's the roster. We know the roster. Like you just said, Q, we pretty much know who's going to play. So it's not like I need to figure out anything else other than this is what training camp looks like for this team. It's kind of what it comes down to. You got to figure out a way to entertain and create a buy-in that's greater than what it is right now, because otherwise it's just not good enough for it to become must-see TV.
To the point on the in-season aspect of it being more interesting, Last Chance U on Netflix, Quarterback, the new series on Netflix, both of those are
in
really
season.
Yes, both in season, and you get that sort of access that you don't get. It just feels like an HBO can do this in season version that they've done the past couple of years with the Colts and the Cardinals. I don't know, man. I feel like it's run its course.